Hello, beautiful people. The reality is nobody's here yet, but if you're watching the replay, then you're going to see this part right now, which is the very, very beginning. So I'm going to chit chat in the very, very beginning because it gives people time to see the notification and hop on. And it also gives me time to kind of like warm up to talking to you guys about how to survive the flippin' holiday season, which we are in. We are in it. And it's always like you get Thanksgiving and it feels kind of like, oh, and then it feels like it kind of starts to slow down and you feel like, okay, all right, I'm all right because Thanksgiving behind me and Christmas isn't until December. But then, I mean, like late December, but then like shit starts hitting the fan. It's like you get invited to some party and then somebody drops off cookies and then it's like trickle by trickle, you end up in a situation where you're like, yeah, December sucked again, right? So we're going to talk about Holiday Survival Guide. I just finished an hour-long training with my Strong Body Foundations crew, who I love so much, and they're just so much fun. I love this crew. I love this crew of people. It's a lot of fun, and we have some great personalities in there. But we just did a whole training on like how to become a gym badass and how to get over that gym anxiety and that gym fear. So that was a really good conversation, but it left me talked out. But that's okay because I have the ability to build myself back up again very quickly. I made myself a smoothie. I'm going to tell you guys really quick what's in this because this is my favorite. I think this is my favorite smoothie concoction I've literally ever made. And I've just been having it every day pretty consistently. Who's here? Say hi if you're here. I've been having this pretty consistently every day because it's delicious. And I know that it gets in like exactly, it's like got 38 grams of protein and anywhere from 5 to 7 grams of fiber, depending on how much fruit I put in. But it's like this much, I pour this much in of blueberries. And here's the key. You can, and it's frozen fruit. The key is, yeah, you can use any frozen blueberries, but if you get the blue bag that says wild blueberries on it, and the blueberries are like very tiny, and if you touch them, your fingers automatically stain. You guys might have seen them in your grocery store. You go to Costco, look in the frozen fruit aisle, and it's this deep blue, like a bright deep blue bag. It's a very blue bag. And it says like wild blueberries. Those ones, I didn't think they had so much flavor. They have so much flavor. Like when I switched back because they didn't have them, like in South Korea, we have the commissary. And the commissary didn't have them, so we had to get regular blueberries, regular frozen blueberries. The flavor's it's still good, but it's just not as good. So anyway, this much wild frozen blueberries, and then add in 3 or 4 frozen strawberries, or if you want more fiber, you sub out the 3 or 4 frozen strawberries for like a half a cup of frozen raspberries. Raspberries have like 8 grams of fiber per cup. Put those in there. And then 30 grams of a banana. For big fat banana, it's like a third of a banana. For a smaller banana, it's like half a frozen. And then add in a scoop of vanilla protein powder and then a cup of skim Fairlife milk. And then any water you need to get to the fill line, and then blend it. And it is so delicious. Okay, so we're getting into the holiday survival guide. If you are here, please say hello. And if you are watching the replay, please say replay. And that would be fun. Actually, if you're watching the replay, don't say replay. Stop. Go back and tell me your favorite like holiday cookie. If you're watching the replay, you can say replay, but then also tell me your favorite holiday cookie. And if you're watching live, I also want to hear your favorite holiday cookie. Mine, I've always loved oatmeal raisin, and I do really love macadamia, but you know what I love is snickerdoodles. I could eat a well-made snickerdoodle. I mean, I could eat like 10 of those. They are so good. I love well-made snickerdoodles. And then my stepmom makes these ones that she calls, I think she calls them like snowdrops or something, but they're like these little balls of maybe snickerdoodle-ish type of dough, and she rolls them in cinnamon and sugar and powdered sugar. No, that's a snickerdoodle. What I just described was a snickerdoodle. It's a different cookie, but she rolls it in a powdered sugar and it stays in a little ball. And I think you might even not cook them or something. I don't know. No, you do cook them. Anyway, they're really, really good. All right, let's get into this holiday survival guide, shall we? Let me make sure I have my notes pulled up so that we can get right into it. And I'm going to share my screen with you. It's going to be so fun. We are surviving the holidays over here. You're getting through feeling not like a slug. Well, you might still feel a little sluggish, but you'll feel okay about it come January. We don't want you to feel like crap. How do I share it? Where is it? I think it's this. Here we go. All righty. Can you guys see this? Let me check my screen. Yes, this looks excellent. You can see it so well. Stay Strong Holiday Survival Guide. Tips and tricks to help you survive the holidays. I love it, love it, love it. All right, let's get into it, guys. Please know that I am not going to be looking at my comments while I'm doing this because I get scatterbrained. So if you have any questions, any thoughts, anything I can help clear up or help answer, please comment in the comments, and at the end I will go through and answer any questions. I will ask you for a thumbs up to see that you're good, and then I will let you go. So let's go through it. Stay Strong Holiday Survival Guide. For everybody that's here, you will get a copy of this. If you send me a DM, I will give you a copy of the Holiday Survival Guide that you can have with you. I turned this into an ebook, so make sure that you send me a message after this. So tips and tricks to help you survive the holidays. Obviously, it's an ebook because I'm going to put right in there the link to this training so that you can watch it if you need it. Okay, so step one for surviving the holidays is to adjust your expectations. So whoops, let's talk about what that looks like. I covered it up thinking I could edit while I was in here. Maybe I can't. Maybe I just need to like expand this. Hold on. We put this down and this down. There we go. Now I can edit it while we're talking. Let me see how that looks for you. It doesn't look as good as presenting. That's okay. It doesn't look as good, but we're going to do it this way. All right. So adjust your expectations. The first thing is to lean into the seasons. This is, I always start here because I think this is so important, because one of the things that I say is like the literal definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And guys, how many years old are you? How many Decembers have come and gone in your life? How many more are going to come and go? This happens every single year. Start adjusting your expectations and stop expecting that you're going to be a certain way or act a certain way or feel a certain way, and then all of the time being disappointed. Okay. So we need to lean into knowing that that's what it's going to be. And instead of, because this is what some people will go too far in the opposite direction of leaning into the seasons. They'll go into this mindset of like, I always feel like crap at this time of the year. And so F it all. I'm just going to feel even crappier and eat everything and ignore every, expectation I have of myself to move and work out, and F it all. My nutrition's going to suck anyway, so I might as well not work out. I'm never going to get any workouts anyway, so I might as well eat like crap. And that is not what you should do because that is going in the opposite direction, right? If you are somebody who is already really on the track and you're tracking and you have goals throughout the rest of the year, I really want you to stop and consider that maybe this is a good time to maintain. Now, I've seen a couple of different thought processes going into this time of the year. I have a couple of colleague friends of mine who are intentionally cutting right now. They're like, I'm going into a deficit. December 10th, I'm starting my deficit. And in my mind, I'm like, how? You know what I mean? Like that would be so challenging for me right now. I really like maintaining or even being in a surplus over the winter season. I like it for a couple of reasons. I like it because usually this season is riddled with food that you want to eat, right? So giving yourself more bandwidth to be able to do that. I like it because we're covered up in big, thick clothing. And so you have a little bit, we're wearing leggings, we're wearing things with expandable waistbands. It's like, if there's going to be a time to lean into having a little bit more calories, it's going to be now. I also like it because I do think that there's a time and a place for being able to be in a deficit in the season. I think it can definitely work for certain people. And there's definitely a reason why people do it, especially if you're a little bit further along, if you're a little bit more advanced in this, I can see the benefit. However, for a lot of people, if you go into a deficit, if you go into this idea that you're going to try to lose fat during this season, then what a lot of times happens is you use a lot of your willpower and ability to stick to a deficit. You use it all up by the time you really need to be able to do it. So I would prefer people consider maintaining in this season, hit some PRs, which I think I have down here. Consider maintaining or consider gaining, okay, in this season. I'll get to that in a sec. Because you have to do that at some point. in your journey. You have to go into maintenance. You have to maybe even go into surplus to try to gain some muscle. Okay. And this is the best time to do it. And it's also going to set you up for success, because after the holidays are over, let's say end of January, we're finally feeling a little recovered. That's just in time to really kind of hit it hard and focus, so that you can go through a deficit in the spring and like really be feeling good by the time summer comes. Because what a lot of times people will do is they'll try to go into a deficit around this time of the year. They'll run themselves ragged by the time they get to February or March. Then they'll go into maintenance or surplus. And then all of a sudden, maybe even by accident, maybe they'll just go off the rails by February, March. And then all of a sudden, April, May rolls around, it starts getting a little warmer. We start putting t-shirts on and shorts, and all of a sudden we feel very expanded. We feel very gross, and we start to panic, and we go right into like diet mode, and we're same freaking cycle every year, right? And so if you just really consider maintaining or gaining through this time and plan your deficit or your fat loss phase, which you should only be doing fat loss and deficits if you have it planned out and it's going to be a short period of time, like once a year. Okay. So that's one mistake a lot of people are making already. So looking at the other 11 months of the year, but really consider changing that up. Okay. The reality is that the more unrealistic your expectations of yourself, the more like a failure you're going to feel. So if you go in with that all or nothing mindset, well, I can't do it all, so I might as well do nothing, you're going to feel even more like a failure when you come out of the holidays than you like normally do, right? So do not set yourself up that way. Very important. Next one. Instead, try this. Step 2. No, not instead, try that. That's the next one. Step 2, be realistic. Okay. Cutting out the fun stuff or expecting yourself to be good at every event is not realistic. Okay. So again, a lot of people will go into the season like, yep, there's all these things. I'm just going to be good. I'm just going to be good. I'm just going to eat the vegetables and the protein. I'm just going to avoid all the cookies. I'm going to really buckle down this year, and I'm going to just avoid all of it. Guys, definition of insanity. It hasn't worked before. It's not going to work now. And the other thing is, if you are able to do that, if it has worked, quote unquote, in the past, then I would ask you to define worked. Because if you set yourself up, yay me, I avoided all holiday treats. I avoided all cookies. I avoided all heavy meals. Then I ask you, did you enjoy it? Were you able to relax and enjoy, meals with your friends and your family? Were you able to enjoy things that you love that you normally restrict from yourself? Like that you can control things and have a minimal amount of them without completely restricting it. So that's unrealistic as well, because it leads to this, or it feeds into the cycle of there's good food and bad food, poor relationship with food, not really ever seeing the results you want the rest of the year because you're not willing to do the things you need to do to get out of that cycle. You're just perpetuating that, okay, by doing that. So if you are able to actually resist it all, at what cost? And it's probably a high cost, right? So something to consider. Instead, I want you to try this. And you guys have seen this before. This is like my favorite thing ever. I'm going to delete this box because I keep moving it. All right. This is the consistency calendar. So this goes in with being realistic. So this is how I want you to think of it. Obviously, this is a calendar from December 2022, but it doesn't matter. The point is December has 31 days. So if we are being realistic, and this is true every month of the year, by the way, but we tend to think that this time of the year is different because there's so many events. The reality is this time of the year is only different because we don't get to choose the events. So in the whole rest of the year, you get to choose the days that you're going to go off a little bit or not worry too much about your calories or skip a workout. You get to choose based on how you feel, based on something you feel like doing. The thing about the holidays is you don't get to choose them. They kind of choose you. You have somebody dropped off cookies on your front stoop. Whoops. I didn't choose that. You got invited to a work party. You got to go. You didn't choose that. Christmas, you don't choose that. You always have cinnamon rolls. Your family decided that was a good, a tradition to have. You didn't choose it. So that's what's different about it. But that's fine because we can still lean in and really enjoy those events. So essentially what I want you to do is I literally want you to take like a calendar of December for yourself. And I want you to X off the days that you are not going to be consistent. So for example, I'm putting an X on Christmas Day. Many of us celebrate Christmas Day. Some of you may not, and that's fine too. But many of us do. Christmas Day is not going to be a day that I am going to go nuts and indulge in every single thing that flows by my face. Okay? This is important. Christmas Day is just a day that I'm not going to track my calories. I'm not going to worry about working out if I don't want to. I'm going to have a cinnamon roll because that was a very real example. We do cinnamon rolls. I'm going to have a Pillsbury cinnamon roll. I might even have 2 because I'm not going to worry too much about the caloric impact of those. I'm not going to worry too much of the fact they have no protein and no fiber. I'm going to enjoy them. And I'm going to enjoy them with a mindset of this is really good and I can have it whenever I want. I can even have it tomorrow again if I want, so that I don't binge the entire thing. I'm going to have 1, maybe 2, and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to eat vegetables this day. I'm not just going to go balls to the wall, like I said. So these aren't days that you are going balls to the wall. If they turn out into days that you go balls to the wall and your calories go double what they normally do, then we have another issue that we need to address. But also, it is not going to necessarily work. These are just days where your consistency falls off, but we're still using logic and reason. We're still trying to eat protein. We're still trying to eat vegetables. We're still trying to go for a walk and move our bodies. We're not being total dicks to ourselves. We're not eating like total assholes, okay? It's just a day where you're more relaxed. So if on the 25th, I'm going to be more relaxed, and then let's say on Christmas Eve as well, I'm a little bit more relaxed. And let's just say that my husband's holiday party was last weekend on the 3rd. So that day I was a little more relaxed. And let's say there's a day in the middle here somewhere where things go off for whatever reason. And let's say that there's a friends get together sometime after. Let's go New Year's Eve. Let's say we do this party on New Year's Eve. All right. So that is 5 days where we know it is going to be really hard to stay on track. Now, granted, you didn't necessarily choose those days. Those days chose you. However, if you do that, you are still being 84% consistent. 84%. 84% consistent if you are on track all of the other days. So the huge mistake that people make are on this very first X day, which is, for me, it was my husband's holiday party. You maybe indulge a little bit. Oh, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese. I'm loading up my plate. Oh, desserts. Hell yeah. They got like 10 different things. I'm trying a little bit of everything. Look at that open bar. And you leave that place feeling a little tipsy, very full. And you had a good time theoretically, but now you just feel like crap. So guess what happens on Sunday? You wake up feeling like a POS, feeling like you're just a slob, that you suck, and that, oh, here we go. This is the beginning of the December downslide, and you don't eat well. You just eat whatever you want. You don't work out. And guess what? That rolls into the next week, and that rolls into the next week. And event after event slams you down even harder. Just when you think you're starting to pick your head back up, these events slam you down. So that's going about it the wrong way. If you can instead wake up on Sunday, and sure, if you did drink a lot, you might be a little bit hungover, and that's going to be a whole different conversation. You can still wake up Monday. The point is your mindset. Don't wake up with the thought of like, I ruined it, because then you're intentionally ruining that 84%. You're now going to make it 0%. When we know that progress can happen between 80 to 90% consistency, we see progress. So why would you destroy the rest of your 84% consistency? A B is good. If you can strive to get a B this season, that would be awesome. And that would set you up so that when you come out in January, you feel so much better. Okay. You might not feel like the best. You might not feel like you might actually, if you can actually sustain this, you might actually feel amazing. But the goal is to feel kind of, even keel, so that we can pick up in January and keep going instead of feeling like you're starting over again, right? We're starting from the bottom. So going in with that idea of like being realistic, this is really, really important. This is one of the most important things that you'll ever learn. You have got to stop letting your emotions guide your actions. I jokingly said this once to a client, and I try not to speak this way anymore because I think she took it well, but it didn't feel good when I said it. But I've jokingly said to my client before, you need to think like a man. You need to act like a man. And I don't mean that to be sexist, but what I've noticed in training, I've been doing this now for almost 10 years, is that when I have clients who are male, I have noticed that even when they have like excuses and emotions, and we're getting on calls and they're like, oh man, I'm dealing with this at work, or I'm feeling this way because of my family, or this is happening. And then I'll look at their data and somehow they're still on track. And I have these conversations. And then a lot of times when I'm talking to women who have this, that, or the other going on, their data is also off. And what I have come to realize is that a lot of times men are very good at keeping the things that they do and the actual plan that they plan to follow, they're on a separate track than their emotions. It's like magic. It's a separate track, and that they're able to, this one can be doing this, but this one's over here anyway. So this one might have other reasons it gets derailed, but it's usually not due to this track, you know? Whereas for women, it's a lot more common for us to be more like this. And so when our emotions get off track, so does the plan. Because we're telling ourselves different things. And there's lots of reasons why. And so I'm not saying don't be empathetic with yourself. Don't be, obviously, like, have compassion, because it's normal and everybody deals with it. But if you can create a little bit more awareness around, wow, look at that. I'm changing the plan based on my emotions. And it can have to do with you just thinking, oh, I feel fat right now. I feel gross. I ate a lot. And so now I feel icky, even though nothing's actually physically changed. Now I feel like, oh my gosh, I need to cut my calories. Oh my gosh, I need to stop eating so much. Oh my God, I need to go do cardio. But that's not your plan. Your plan was to eat this many calories. Your plan was to do this workout today. The best thing you can do is to get back on the track that you have, your plan that you already had laid out before you had all these emotions. Get back to that. Don't overcompensate because of a strong emotion that you have. Okay. It's really important not to let your emotions guide your actions. So I'm not saying that all men are like this, and I'm not saying that all women are like this, but it is more common. And so when I said that to my client, I think it actually spoke to her, because I remember after that, she really pulled it. She had a lot going on. It made a lot of sense. But it was also to the point where, like, there's only so much you can empathize as a coach before you have to be like, what can I do to help this person? Because if we continue down this road of like self-pity and et cetera, and if I continue down this road with her, then I'm not helping her, right? So how can I help her? And the response was to go to the other side of the spectrum. Like, look, dude, I get it. I hear you. I've empathized. I've been there with, but it's time to pull out, and it's time to stop letting your emotions guide your actions. You're going to have the emotions, and I'm going to be here for you, but we're not going to tangle that with your plan. Do the plan, and then it will have a trickle effect to everything else. And she did. She was able to, and she had massive progress, and it was amazing. But think like a man. Take that as you will. Really steer clear of this dichotomous thinking. I thought I heard my kid yell for me, but I am definitely home alone. That creeped me out. Dichotomous thinking. This idea of next year, and obviously this is very easy to do because we're at the end of the year. Maybe you're reflecting on these resolutions that you had, a place you thought you'd be by this time this year, and now we're in the last month of it, and it's like, I'm not there, so I might as well throw it all to the wind, enjoy this last month, and start again in January, right? That's not going to work. It's never worked before. This idea of like, oh, screw the weekend, I'll start Monday. I'll do it later. I'll start then. This black and white, like it has to be from one day to the next, crappy and then on track. That never worked before. It's not going to work now. You have to get away from that idea of this dichotomous thinking. Okay. I always say that the answer lies in the gray zone. And it couldn't be more true, especially at this time of the year. Okay. You have to understand too, so this is like a little bit of just like understanding the actual like science, is that palate changes are real. So very, very common to happen at this time of the year is we're eating, even if we're staying within our calories, even if we're whatever it is, even if we're maintaining, but we're, eating a little bit more sweets, or this happens after Thanksgiving a lot too. Your palate changes very quickly. So if you're somebody that normally eats salads and vegetables and chicken and you always enjoy it and it's always easy, but then you go through a season like a Thanksgiving meal, or not even just a meal, it doesn't just happen in one meal. It usually happens, it can happen in just a couple of days where you're not eating those things and you're eating a lot of highly palatable, usually high fat, high carb. When you combine those two, high salt, high sugar, you combine all of those, you create what's called a food that's hyper palatable, which means that your palate literally kind of craves it. And you kind of turn on these sensors that have been a little bit maybe dormant, right? And you get real valid cravings for those foods that you were eating. This also is very, very real for people who have a diet that's just high in highly palatable foods anyway, and they're trying to change. And a lot of times these people go straight from that to salads and chicken, and they are miserable. And I think that it's really important to be aware that it's totally normal for your palate to actually change. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing that you can really do to fix it other than give it time. Give it time. So what I do when this happens to me, because this 100% happens to me, but because I'm aware of it, I'm able to like dial back slowly. So I think it was around Halloweenish time. I mean, I think I was eating like 3 or 4 pieces of like Halloween candy a day, to the point where like if I didn't have 3 or 4, I was like craving it. And it was to the point with all this hot, heavy fat foods that we were eating and the Thanksgiving leftovers and all of this stuff, I didn't want like the normal food that I normally eat. I didn't want the smoothie. I didn't want things that tasted like nothing, because that's what it was starting to feel like they tasted like. But I was aware of what was happening. My palate has now shifted, and it usually takes about 2 weeks to get it where you want it. And you have to go slow. You don't have to go slow. You can rough it. You can just force yourself to give it all up, but know that it's going to take time to actually feel normal again. But doing it slowly. So, okay, instead of 4 Halloween candies, I'm going to have 3, and I'm going to have 3 until I can comfortably pull back and now have 2. And then I'm going to incorporate vegetables slowly. I'm going to make the vegetable. I'm not going to make too much of it. I'm going to eat a little bit of it and then fill up on the other stuff. And then, tomorrow I'll have a little bit more. And you just kind of slowly start to push your palate to go back. And I usually give myself about a 2-week transition. So just know that that is normal. It happens to everybody. There's not something wrong with you, but you have to give yourself time to kind of readjust. Alcohol. Yes, absolutely. You can drink alcohol, but please be aware. I have an alcohol cheat sheet. I have an alcohol workshop. If you want it, comment below right now and I'll make sure that you get it. It's like low calorie, alcoholic beverages that you can have. There's this misconception that alcohol automatically equals no, you will not be able to make progress. And that is definitely not true. However, be aware, alcohol lowers your inhibitions 100%. So that's the main thing. That's really the main thing. If it weren't for that, people would be able to include alcohol very easily, but it lowers your inhibitions so that you tend to just kind of eat more than you normally would. When you're not drinking alcohol, which again might be fine. It's okay to eat a little more at this time. There's nothing wrong with eating more at this time, but we want to do it in a controlled way. We don't want to do it because some other thing is choosing for us, right? So alcohol can take that control away a little bit. The other thing it can do is it just gives you extra calories without actually making you feel full, which is not great as a long-term solution. You don't want to be drinking alcohol all the time because of these 2 things. But you can certainly include it and still be able to enjoy your holidays and still see progress. The other thing you need to do, and this is the biggest one that you need to do in your life, is stop tangling nutrition and fitness so tightly. It's that idea of, oh, I'm not going to be able to get my workout in for a week. I keep missing it and missing it and missing it. So what the hell is the point of eating right? Or I've been eating like crap lately. What the heck is the point of doing my workout? They are separate. This is like that lanes thing again. They are both good for you. They are both important. When you do them both consistently, you are going to get the best results. However, they are different. Fitness and nutrition is not fitness and nutrition. It's not the same. They are separate. And if you can get better at sticking with one, even if the other is falling, or sticking with, this one, if the other one's falling, that is going to be the key to making sure you can sustain this, because you're not always going to be able to get your workouts in. You're not always going to be able to get them in at the level that you want to. You're not always going to be able to eat well, but guaranteed you have control over one of them at times when one feels uncontrollable, right? And sometimes they both feel uncontrollable, and that's just the reality of it. But don't choose that path. Don't choose to shoot yourself in the foot. If somebody slices one of your tires, do you take a knife and go slice the other 3? No, you just take it to go get fixed and be thankful you still have 3 working tires. Like, keep your tires working, guys. Okay, stop slashing them. This is very important. And the holidays, it's always important, but it's important in the holidays because it's usually that people drop their fitness because they're eating so much. And they're feeling like, because all of this crappy food that I'm eating, I should just, screw my workouts. I'll start again in January, right? My smoothie's going to melt here because I'm talking to you guys so much. All right. This next step, are we still step 3? Why do these all say, this one should say step 4? Nope, it's strategize still. All right. Step 3 is strategize. Okay. I just have to move it to make sure I know what I'm talking about. So this is my no tracking plate image. You guys have probably seen this before. This is basically the idea. and again, you guys might be in varying places. If you are people who track your macros, you might feel that if you're not tracking, you're not on track. And that's not true. You don't have to be tracking in order to be on track. In fact, you could be tracking and still be very off track. So tracking is just the unit that you're using to measure what you are eating. It does not mean that what you are eating is necessarily within your goals. So remember that you cannot be tracking and still be on track. And this is a way that you can do that. So especially when we're at holiday parties, when we're at, gatherings with friends, or we're in a situation where having people over, we don't necessarily want to be like paying that close attention. You can use this and still be on track. It's a no tracking plate that keeps you on track. So it's this basic visual that if you eat like this every day, you can still be on track. And it's the idea of loading half your plate with veggies, a quarter of it with high quality protein, a quarter of it with hopefully complex carbohydrates that provide fiber, but sometimes not, because we're in situations where we're just trying to have a good time and eat some mac and cheese, right? Have a little fat on the side if you need it. A lot of times these other foods will include the fat already, like said mac and cheese, or like salmon or beef. Those are already, or the oil that was cooked, the veggies, or the cheese that's sprinkled on everything. You might not have to add a fat at all on the holidays. It's probably already included. But if it's not, and you're just trying to build a healthy plate, this is where you can add a healthy fat source: nuts, nut butters, oils, butter, avocado, olives, even like that's fat sources that you can add. If you do this 3 times a day and then just focus on having a snack that is about palm size, that focuses on protein and produce, then you're going to be on track without feeling like you have to be rigidly tracking. Okay. So this is a really great strategy to use when you're feeling like you're in that situation. And here's some others. I wasn't sure if it was another image. Here's some other ways that you can strategize. Know that there's lots of ways to go about this with no one right way. So similar to what we just talked about with tracking, you don't have to be tracking to be on track. There are lots of right ways to go about it. And so don't stick yourself in that box of like, if it's not this way, if I'm not, perfectly consistent with my 5-day-a-week Orange Theory and my Weight Watchers points, then I'm off track. There is no one right way. Okay. The answer lies in the gray zone, and it's hard to get there. But once you're there, it's really hard to imagine that you used to be so black and white. So focus on trying to get there. There's no one right way. Stick to the basics. Okay. Like I said, the no tracking plate, stick to the basics if you need to. The basics are going to get you so far. Like I said, maintain or surplus during the season. If you need a period of a deficit, do it if and when desired. It may or may not be appropriate to you, but I would really suggest you focus on, I think I put hitting some PRs. Yeah, eat, enjoy the food, hit some PRs in the gym. Try to make sure you're getting enough complex carbs and proteins so that you still have that energy going into the gym. Try not to eat too much very fat heavy food, because that's what makes you feel sluggish in your workouts. But try to use those extra calories that you're consuming anyway to really like crush it in the gym. Okay. This is where I say, like, don't tie fitness and nutrition so closely too, because you could actually be using the extra food that you're eating by not being on track nutritionally, like really kill it in the gym and actually make some progress in other ways that aren't aesthetic. Okay. If you would like to, so another strategy that you could have if you're, like I said, a little bit further along, somebody who's not tracking consistently or is kind of at the beginning stages of fitness and nutrition and getting all of that together anyway, shouldn't do this. But if you're somebody who's already a little bit further along, you know how to track, you know how to regulate, try eating a deficit 80% of the days and a surplus 20% of the days. So if we're eating like on all of those days we talked about that were the 84% of days in the consistency calendar, you can eat at a deficit those days and literally allow yourself to just maybe go off the rails the other days a little bit, eat at a surplus. And overall, you're going to bring the entire month to around a maintenance. So that could make it a little easier than thinking about it on a daily basis. This is another way to strategize. Like I said, there's lots of ways to go about it. There's no one right way. Okay. Step 4 is to plan. Okay. So here's some ideas of things you can do to plan for success in your days. So one is, I love having like gum or suck on candies, like at work, when you're out of the house, because a lot of times too, in the holiday season, people are bringing in things to the office, right? People are bringing in donuts. They're bringing in leftover Halloween candy. They're bringing in leftover desserts from Thanksgiving. They're bringing in the cookies or the fruit cake that somebody dropped off on their front porch that they don't actually want to eat themselves. So guess what? Oh, I'll take those to work. They'll eat them there. It's always like, I feel so bad for the people at my husband's work. Cause like, whenever we have something that I'm like, hey babe, I don't really want this in the house. He's like, oh, I'll take it to work. I'm like, these poor people, they're just surrounded by everybody's like, you know, stuff that they don't actually want to eat in their house, and they have to take it to work. But have a plan. If you have gum, if you have stuck on candies, it's a little easier to avoid those things because you have something in your mouth, you have something going. One of my favorite things to do to avoid snacking, because when that palate change starts to happen and you are craving these things, allow it in these small ways. If you have gum, even candies, they don't have to be sugar-free. It can be straight up candy cane. Candy cane has like 40 calories in it. 40 calories, that takes you like an hour or more to eat because you're sucking on it. That's totally worth it. And then you get to have that sweet that your palate wants for a very low impact while still having something fun. Like you can totally plan for this and kind of budget for this and have it be very low impact on your actual like physical body, right? So definitely plan, have some candies, have some gum, have some tea. I love having like a sweet fruity tea when I don't want to snack. I'll make sure that I have like a tea or even miso soup, because I don't know if that's weird to you. I think it's delightful to like sip on. Having meals that you know that you enjoy to bring to potlucks. So one of my favorite meals to bring to potlucks, I think it's in here actually. Yeah. So I'll always bring these. And again, I'll give this to you. These are my like signature. I do a Greek bulgur salad. I do a black bean quinoa salad, but they essentially, the point is a whole grain with lots of fiber. And then I throw in beans or some kind of legume a lot of times. Sometimes I don't. In the black bean quinoa salad, I do. But then lots of veggies, like the Greek bulgur salad, I usually put like spinach in there and lettuce and feta cheese and tomatoes and cucumbers and red onion in this yummy like lemon and red vinegar kind of dressing with olive oil. And I always know that at a potluck or something like that, there's going to be a protein. So there's almost always ham or turkey or some kind of protein. So if I bring a giant grain salad, not only is it the thing that everybody ends up being like, you got to give me the recipe to that. That was amazing. But I know that if I load up my plate with my grain salad, I'm going to get my fiber grains. I'm going to get my veggies. I'll take whatever protein that is at the potluck and I'll combine it with my salad. If there's a vegan or a vegetarian at the potlucks, they love me because especially when I bring the black bean quinoa salad, because the black beans are like a little bit more high protein, they can eat that as their entire meal. So you end up being like a winner at your event, but you also have something that you know is going to give you what you need and want, is going to help you feel satisfied. You include the protein, then you go back and get a dessert. If there was mac and cheese and you love mac and cheese like I do, have a little mac and cheese too, but at least you know that you've got something that will help you meet your goals. So that's a way that you can definitely plan for things like potlucks, because it might be a situation where you don't want to give it a red X for your consistency. Like I definitely have situations where I'm like, you know, I know I have like 4 or 5 of these red X's to use for my month, but I don't know if I want to waste it on this. You know, this isn't that fun of an event. I'm kind of with people that it feels obligatory and I don't want this to be one of my red X's. Plan for that. All right. Plan and set yourself up for success. Plan before you go into potlucks and social events. I already spoke to all of that. Be picky. I'm kind of speaking to this too. Be picky, guys. If somebody brings in freaking Walmart donuts to the office, don't eat that. They're not that good. It's not worth it. But if it's Krispy Kreme, like fresh off of the little thingy, then like by all means, that's worth it. Is it going along with like the potluck and the social event too? Like if it's not worth it, don't engage. Like, or you can engage, but don't indulge. Okay. If it's not worth it, don't indulge. Sit back, be cordial, enjoy your time, have a good meal, and then leave and have it be done. It doesn't have to be something where you give up everything for it. Okay. Be picky. We've talked about this already. Plan your meals. Make sure you're having protein, veggies, and complex carbs at your main meals. Okay. Use the meal planning workshop, guys. I have a meal planning workshop. If you don't have it, it's really good. I go through exactly how to meal plan successfully, and I give you a meal planning template, and it would help you a lot in a season like this, especially if you're not necessarily tracking or paying too much attention to your food, but you want to get better at paying attention, especially during that 84% we talked about. Like maybe you don't have control over these 5 days, but you have control over all the others, and you want to make sure you're set up for success. Use my meal planning workshop. Use the template that I gave you to meal plan. It is going to be massively helpful. If you want a copy of that, just comment below meal planning workshop, and I'll make sure to get that to you as well. It's got a clickable, editable Google Doc template where you can create your meal plan, and it's actually really nice. I really like it. I'm very proud of it. So if you would like a copy of that, I just redid it with my Foundations crew, but I can give you the old version as well. Stop binging workshop. I also have one of those. If you're a binger, this is a whole other thing that I'm not want to get too deep on. But I have an entire, if you need this one too, I have a training on how to stop binging. So if that's something you feel like you struggle with, stop binging workshop, put that in the comments and I'll make sure you get that as well. Guys, we have so many free resources. It's ridiculous. You guys need to just create a folder on your computer just called like Jamie's free resources and just start collecting these things and put them in there. I've got a solution for everything you struggle with. If you need help figuring out how to stop binging, it's a very real, even if it's not like, if you don't feel like it's an actual, I don't know what the right term is, like not necessarily medical, but people have it's like a psychological issue with binging. And some people, it's not really psychological. It's more so that you just always want to eat and you just know that you probably should have the willpower, but you can't seem to stop. No matter which one it is, whether you think it's psychological or whether you think it's a little bit more based on the fact that you just really like to eat, it'll be helpful either way. So if you want that Stop Binging workshop, just comment below and I'll make sure to get that to you. Speaking of that, guys, you have to check your messages. If you're watching this right now and you've asked me for stuff before and I've never delivered it, promise you I have delivered it. It's sitting in your spam. It's sitting in your message requests and you just haven't seen it because Facebook sucks and it won't let me message you if you don't like formally accept it. So go into your message requests, go into spam, and guaranteed I've sent, if you've asked for a resource before and you think I haven't sent it, I have. So please check. So in this resource, which if you want it, by the way, just comment holiday survival guide and I will send you this document so that you have all of these notes and you will have these recipes. I put in my two favorite grain salads, but I also put in a shrimp ceviche is another thing. It's a little bit better for the summer, but I love making a big shrimp ceviche and it's cooked shrimp. So it's not like a true ceviche, but it's very easy to make. And if you bring this to like a potluck or like a party or something like that, or provide it with tostadas or like chips, this is a really nice thing to have too. And then this is just a lemon artichoke salmon pasta. This is also another thing that would be great to bring to like a potluck if you make like a large amount of it. So these are just a couple of recipes I thought you guys might like. So those are there. All right. And step 5, I think, yeah. Step 5 is make January sustainable. So we've talked a lot about what to do in December, what to do like in Thanksgiving and December and how to make this all like yada, yada, yada. But a really important thing you have to remember is how to plan to make January sustainable, because that's when we're finally out of the woods here and we want to have a successful year. We don't want to be insane. We don't want to repeat the same like maniacal process like the next time the holidays come, and that starts now, right? So you need to make January sustainable. We're not doing any crash diets, guys. I don't want to hear from anybody. In January, I'm starting Weight Watchers. In January, I'm starting Optavia. In January, I'm starting. Stop it. Stop it. Because first of all, I don't care how much weight you lose if half of that's muscle. And you shouldn't care either, because if you at this age, not calling you old, but I guarantee you that if you are here watching this, you are in your 30s at a minimum, if not older. Anybody 30s, if not older, should be massively concerned about their muscle mass. I do not want you to lose weight at the risk of you losing muscle and losing stability and losing that it's like a security blanket, how much muscle you have. Okay. So we're not crash dieting for that reason. We're also not crash dieting because, like I said, you're going to run yourself rampant by the time February, March comes. You're going to fall off the wagon. You are going to start eating again, start gaining weight, and then you're going to freak out again come summer. We're not doing that anymore. Okay. You're getting out of that. So we're not doing any crash diets. We're not cutting out entire food groups. We're not doing keto. We're not doing whatever, low fat. I don't care what it is. Don't do it. Stop. We're not going to do any boot camp classes. I don't want you to go join F45. I don't want you to go join Orange Theory. I don't want you to go join that boot camp at your gym or that New Year's 21-day challenge at your gym. I don't want you to do that. And here's why. Because you're going in with the same mindset that you go in with those crash diets. You're going in with this mindset of all of that was crappy and now I'm going to hit it hard. I don't want you to hit it hard. You're going to run yourself to the ground. You're going to do things that are unsustainable. And you are, even if you got through the summer sustainably, it's going to bite you in the butt at some point. It's going to come around and bite you in the butt. Either you're going to be injured, or your hormones are going to be messed up, or your metabolism is going to be crashed. Or your relationship with food is going to be the worst it's ever been. You don't, and the biggest thing is you don't need to do those things. So it's kind of infuriating that people keep leaning into like the marketing and doing it anyway, and then experiencing again like the same kind of thing. And it makes sense. There's literally studies that show that things that are new and things that are flashy like feed a dopamine center in our brain. So even if we logically know this thing doesn't work, or it probably doesn't work, and I know that if I just do these really boring things that they will work better in the long term if I stick with them, it's not going to be true if you're allowing that dopamine center to guide your actions, right? And you do all of these like unsustainable things. So I want you to focus on crowding out your diet with protein, fiber, and green veggies instead of restricting it. So stop thinking about the things you shouldn't be having and start thinking about the things you want to fill your diet with. It's going to help you massively. And with strength training, I want you to think about with fitness, I want you to think about strength training about 3 to 4 days a week. Keep it moderate. Okay. We're going in, we're being moderate. All right. We're going to go in 3 to 4 days a week. We're going to utilize progressive overload. You're going to get about 7 to 12K steps. You're going to do cardio as needed or wanted. You cannot move beyond this unless you prove to yourself and me that you can do this. If you prove to yourself and me that you can do all of these things, I'm talking to you guys like you're my clients, my apologies, but I'm a coach. That's what I do. If you can prove to me that you can do this successfully, then I would say, okay, go ahead and ramp it up. I guarantee you, I 100% guarantee you, if you do this consistently for a month, you won't want to do anything more because you will see the benefits of doing this and you will be officially convinced. So that's why I say, do it, prove to me that you can do it, and then ramp it up if you want. Guaranteed you won't want to ramp it up. And be patient, guys, be patient. Things take time. So if we're talking about coming January, you have to stop having a month-to-month mindset and you have to have a year mindset. Where do I want to be this time next year? I want to not be insane doing the same unsustainable stuff I always did. But I also, want to be here with my aesthetics and my strength and what can I do to set myself up for success this time next year? Okay. What else do I got here? New Year's resolutions. You want to set some New Year's resolutions? All right, this is what we're going to do. You're going to set a vision, not a goal in the traditional sense. You are going to set goals. But if you think of it in let's take the game of soccer as an example. The goal is not necessarily win the game. It might be like big picture, win the game, win the championship, but that's more like the vision. What the goals are literally kicking the ball in the goal. That's why it's called goal. The goal is the action because you can't reach the vision of winning the game or winning the championship if you're not kicking goals. So the goals, instead of being lose this amount of weight, deadlift this much weight, whatever it might be, put that instead of your rigid box of goal, make that box fluffy because it's a cloud now and clouds float and clouds transform and clouds change. And sometimes clouds drift away and new ones come, but we're allowing it to do whatever it's going to do. And your goals, the things that are in your box are the balls you have to hit daily in order to make sure that you are moving towards your vision. And if you don't end up reaching your vision, it's because your vision shifted or your vision changed or your vision transformed. And that can be a good thing. So maybe we hit all these goals every day. And instead of losing 30 pounds like we thought we wanted, we only lose 10, but we gained a ton of muscle and our whole body composition is transformed. So now all of a sudden that vision bubble, it doesn't say 30 anymore. It actually says 10 pounds sounds good. And now I'm going to focus on pull-ups because I just want to be stronger, right? So we allow that to shift. And I want you to set goals as in the daily things that you are going to do every day to help move you towards your vision. And you judge your progress on your ability to hit those goals, not your ability to meet that vision. Does that make sense? So your goals will be your daily action steps. They usually fail because people are unrealistic and impatient. That's very, very true. And that makes sense because like what I talked about, this new start feeling, as well as Hello, Thanks, Miss Eve. I've changed it. Hello, Thanks, Miss Eve and the weather. It makes a lot of sense. But again, this happens every year, guys. So we need to take a different approach. All right. This is the approach we're taking. We're going to be a little bit more realistic. We're not going to allow the dopamine center of new and exciting and all of this stuff take over. And we're going to be sustainable. When all else fails, remember your weight and your body fat percentage are not that important. It might be a valid and important goal to you, but it does not define you. Guaranteed, you are perfect and beautiful as you are. Once you start accepting that, it will be so much easier to make the changes you want to make because you will also be appreciating who and where you are now. These are not the things that define you. So you need to remember that. This is about loving the way you look, feel, and move forever. Okay. If you don't love the way you look, feel, and move come January, that's okay. It's normal to not love the way you look, feel, and move. But that doesn't mean that we need to make these drastic changes and change everything. Okay. We pick up, we keep going, we create a sustainable plan so that we can have sustainable progress. Got it? Good. I'm glad we're on the same page. Now act. Okay. Obviously, I would love for you to consider working with us. I announced something earlier this month, which is essentially, I do this every year where we give December for free. So if anybody is in this position where they would love to be able to have the accountability, they would love to be able to have the support structure of one-on-one training, but December sucks because they're thinking about buying gifts for people and it's just finances are tough. I always say, look, start now. Payments don't start until January. I will give you December completely for free. We don't often like to do this because obviously this is us working essentially for free, but we're willing to do it if we know that you're committed to your strength in the new year, to your progress, to getting out of this cycle. So if you're interested in getting December completely for free, starting now, but your payments won't start until 30 days from the day you sign up, if you sign up in December. So if you sign up in December 30th, your payments won't come out till January 30th. But if you sign up January 1st, we're doing payments January 1st. So keep that in mind. We have a payment structure that can get they can work in almost everybody's budget. We have multiple tiers of training. So if it's even something that you think you might be interested, but you're just not 100% sure, just send me a message December and I'll know exactly what you're talking about. We can chat. If you're in a position where maybe you want to learn how to use barbells, if you already use barbells, but you know you need form help, you know you need direction in your training, you know you need to be challenged maybe with dumbbells at home. We have a lot of clients who train at home and they just need a different approach. If you really know you need to ditch the restrictive mindset and lean into this strength mindset that we always talk about. And ultimately, if you're ready to finally love the way you look, feel, and move and sustain that forever, then this is a program for you, guaranteed. Send me a DM and we can chat a little bit more and see if it would be a good fit for you. That's it. Holiday survival guide. You guys are set to survive. Do you have any questions? Any questions? We have a lot of people that end up watching replays, so I don't expect a ton of questions right now. If you are watching the replay and you have questions, things that brought up that you want to know more, if you want any of the resources that I listed, please let me know. I will make sure that I check these comments throughout the day, the days, the week, the rest of the week. Again, it's Friday for me. The weekend, I will check. The point is that I will check. Let me know if you're here live. Thank you for being here. This is a great conversation and something I definitely want to continue having. And have a great Thursday, Friday, weekend. Have a great weekend, and we will chat soon. Bye, guys.